Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where for the last few days I've been dashing around the show floor, bringing up my step count, trying to make the most of having the privilege of being at an in-person tech event in Chicago. And I take seriously the responsibility to share as many voices as I can here. Free of bias, just speak to everybody that I possibly can, so you get an idea of what everyone is talking about here on the show floor, and what technology some of the biggest brands in the world are exploring and talking about, because these are the brands that are going to be setting those expectations for your consumers. And when not recording podcasts, I've been watching keynotes, lots and lots of keynotes here at Symposium. So I find myself trying to convince the speakers to come and speak with me. And Sitecore's leadership team here at Symposium have all been incredibly obliging. So today I'm going to dash around Symposium show floor to bring you two interviews in one episode. First of all, we're going to speak with Dave O'Flanagan, CPO at Sitecore, to walk me through the announcements before I finally dash off again to meet Nick Malone, Chief Operating Officer, who has some great insights and also an incredibly powerful personal story, which will close our set of interviews today. So please, I implore you to listen to what they all have to say. They've all got very different angles on this, and hopefully I can make you feel like you're actually here at Sitecore's Symposium in Chicago. So are you ready? Good. Well, buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Chicago for a whistle-stop tour of Symposium 2022. Dave O'Flanagan has delivered some great keynotes over the last few days, and his passion for some of the big announcements really shined through. So let's bring Dave into the conversation.
My name is Dave O'Flanagan. I'm the Chief Product Officer in Sitecore.
Now, for anyone listening around the world, how would you describe Symposium and what has excited you most about the event this year?
It's been great, by the way. It's my first proper Sitecore Symposium. I don't think I was quite ready for the scale of it. It's amazing. I think 2,500 people, all very passionate, committed to the Sitecore community. So what you'll see is a super community of partners and customers, and everybody there is there to learn more about the Sitecore portfolio, where we're going, why we're going. And I think there's a lot of excitement there.
It certainly seems that way from what I've seen on the show floor myself. And of course, you've been incredibly busy on stage here. So for people listening around the world that have missed some of those big announcements, can you just run me through a few of those things that you've talked about in your keynotes?
Yeah, I think we wanted to talk about a few key points. I think the first was that last year we announced our Composable DXP, and we wanted to recap, why Composable is so important, what we believe it's bringing to the market, and why it's so disruptive. We believe that Sitecore is the only vendor that has the full suite of composable products, and we were keen to make sure that everybody understood that and understood where we were going with that. But in terms of new product announcements, we had 4 this year. The first was earlier this year, XM Cloud. That's our flagship enterprise CMS. I think the feedback on that has been amazing. I was just at the session with GE Healthcare, who've been implementing XM Cloud, and the feedback they got, it was heartwarming to hear just how positive it was. It was really amazing. So we're super excited about that project, that product, and many customers who began implementing kind of late summer are now coming to conclusion, and the feedback has been resoundingly positive. So that was the first product, and then we've 2 other products that we announced as part of our Content Cloud. The second product was Content Hub 1. It's our new headless CMS. It's really focused on customers or organizations who want to kind of move a little bit more quickly in terms of managing content and standing up a campaign site or maybe a throwaway mobile application. So, we know that there's customers who want to manage content or their CMS content in that way. And with Content Hub 1, we have a really powerful proposition in that space. And the third element of Content Cloud, so there was been a huge amount of announcements, but the third product in Content Cloud is search, built on, we acquired a great business last year called Reflektion. They've got amazing search technology under the hood, and we've been able to take that search technology and point it at content and making content now instantly searchable from any CMS, including Sitecore and others. So that's the the content cloud announcements. And then the final announcement in terms of new products was Sitecore Connect, which is an integration platform that allows us to connect really, really easily to other vendors in the stack. And I guess from my perspective, it's really, I guess we're doubling down on the fact that we want to help our customers be successful and composable. And it's acknowledgement that, part of being composable is that there is an element of integration that needs to happen between the products. And with Sitecore Connect, I think we've solved that.
And if you were to put all those together collectively, what are all your products? What are the key problems these solutions are solving for your customers, would you say?
I think customers are challenged with moving faster, with more agility, and solving for the expectation that, their end consumers have. And traditional kind of multi-year implementations of software like Sitecore or, the older DXP platforms just doesn't cut it in the modern world. People are used to moving quicker with modern cloud platforms, integrating quickly via APIs and solving problems in a much more iterative fashion. And I think with all of these products, they all share the same characteristic, which is they're all cloud platforms. They can be deployed quite quickly and customers can get the value much, much quicker than they could have with traditional software. So we're really excited about it because we're allowing CMOs and CDOs move at a much greater pace and at a much more agile, iterative manner with these products. So it's something we've heard from our customers and I think we've stepped up and solved that.
And one of the other big themes here seems to be the metaverse, and especially Sitecore partnering with industry leaders such as Microsoft and Touchcast to solve pressing business problems with innovative metaverse technologies. And the one thing that really stood out for me was no headset required, right?
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool, right? And I think we're not sure where the metaverse is going, and I think obviously Meta is obviously all in on metaverse. And then you hear Tim Cook talking about maybe he's not as positive about metaverse, but he is all in on immersive experiences like AR and VR. So I think that we don't really know where the cards will fall, but Sitecore's role in this is very clear. We want to be the content infrastructure for the metaverse. So today we're rendering 2D images on a website or 3D images via a video in via our DAM. But tomorrow, we believe that the content, the information, the intelligence that we can apply headlessly on the website or headlessly on a mobile app, we can also apply that headlessly in the metaverse, whatever guise that may take. I'm not sure. I want to spend 4 or 5 hours in a virtual world. I like the outside. I like human contact. But, if I look at my kids, for instance, my kids play Roblox all the time, and that's kind of one of the poster childs for what the metaverse might look like. So, who knows? But I think the example that Paige showed yesterday, the work that they did with Microsoft with the Triumph showroom is really, really cool. And it kind of shows that you can still have an immersive experience while not necessarily needing all of the headsets and everything else to take advantage of that.
And something else that stood out in Paige's keynote, and we talked briefly about this yesterday, was AI-generated art. And not from a point of view of replacing anything, but I think for me it's much more about enhancing creativity or human creativity rather than replacing it, right? Yeah,
I think that's a great point. Obviously the art behind Paige's keynote was amazing. It was really striking and colorful, and it was lovely. And but I think that whole intersection of AI and marketing and AI and creativity, I'm not so concerned that everything is going to be AI and auto-generated, but I do think, the point I was making yesterday was that I do think AI has the ability to kind of maybe take some of the mundane work off the marketer's plate so they can focus more on creative and strategy. So it'll allow them to do more with less.
So are there any particular tech trends that excite you in the industry right now? Because one of the big things everybody's loved about this event is speaking with people from all over the world, exchanging ideas, learning different ways of thinking and different worldviews and different technologies. Is there anything that really excites you at the moment?
Yeah, I'm really interested in the whole area of low-code, no-code development. I think maybe 5 years ago I was pretty skeptical on that, but I think when we look at, being able to build software much quicker with citizen developers, so not having to write code, but actually using drag and drop interfaces to assemble applications for end users, I think it's a really interesting space, an evolving space. And it's something that it's quite aligned with Sitecore as well. We build interfaces for customers with quite, digital, high brand interfaces for customers to interact in digital on the web or mobile. But the whole low code area is something that I'm tracking quite closely and quite excited about. And separately, I think there's still so much headroom in terms of the innovation around site speed, acceleration, and all the proliferation of new JavaScript frameworks to develop front-end websites. I don't think the story's told by any means there. And so I'm constantly looking at what the next new thing is in that world and hoping that we can take advantage of that in Sitecore.
And there is a golden few moments, a golden window when you leave a conference. You come away feeling inspired from all the conversations you had, and you're thinking about things before you fall back into the trap of the day-to-day. What are you going to be thinking about on that flight home and from the conversations you've had? Is that?
I think I've been really inspired by a lot of the conversations with our customers and our partners. I've been talking to I talked to Anne, the Chief Digital Officer from L'Oreal. Actually, I spent an hour with her today, and what they're doing and how they're building it is amazing. And I think that our role in Sitecore is to almost enable the builders to build. And I think when I look at L'Oreal and other brands like that, they're doing some incredible things with Sitecore, and it's probably opened my eyes again to know that our approach, the fact that we're offering our products headlessly, we're committed to allowing our customers assemble these products and solutions in different ways. I really do believe we're on the right track, and I'm really excited what customers will do next with these new products.
Fantastic. And of course, everyone's coming to you and asking for you for help and looking to you for solutions. So my question to you is, what keeps you up at night, and how do you keep your curiosity and open-mindedness alive? Because it can be quite easy to fall into the trap of living in your own tech bubble. And how do you keep that curiosity alive?
I used, when I was the founder of the CEO of BoxEver, I used to get asked that question, and my simple answer was I love building stuff and I love selling stuff. That was and so when I'm at home, I love DIY, and I'm always making things. That's why I'm so passionate about software. And if I've got a spare few hours, I'd crack open my laptop and hack out some pretty horrible code, but I do get some satisfaction out of that. So I love building things, and I get a real kick of going out and meeting customers and meeting new prospects, trying to understand their business problem, and then work out how we can solve their problem with our software. And for me, that kind of curiosity question is when you're out there talking to people, and not in a bubble, obviously, in a tech bubble, developing product, but actually out talking to people and hearing market problems and customer problems and hearing specific pain points that they're trying to solve. I think there's just an endless source of creativity and ideas that I love. It's something I've spent the whole week talking to customers and partners and hearing challenges and opportunities. So I'll spend the next week trying to digest all of that, and hopefully I'll have a few more hexagons for Sitecore next year.
Well, I appreciate you're incredibly busy, so thank you for taking time off the show floor to come and see me today. But one question I've got to ask you now, I asked Paige this last week, and I always like to finish the podcast on this, is can you leave us with a song that is important to you that we can add to our Spotify playlist, or a book that we can add to Amazon wish list? All I ask is, what are you going to leave us with, and is there a reason why you're going to leave us with that?
The book, actually, which comes to mind is Shantaram. It's actually, the reason it's top of mind at the moment is because there's a series starting on Apple TV, and they're making a series about it. But it was a book I read when I exited my previous company, and myself and my then girlfriend, we went traveling around South America for 3 months, and then it ended up being a whole year. But I read that book about a couple of months in, and it was just a moment in time when, it's a great book, by the way. But it was a moment in time that's very linked to a kind of a special time in my life. We got engaged, and then we went on and got married. But, that book is just top of mind at the moment. Highly recommend it as something to read. And if you're not into reading, you can catch up on Netflix, on Apple TV, But that maybe add that to the list.
Brilliant. I'll add that to the list. It sounds like there's another book there from your adventure in South America.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's publishable.
So thank you so much for taking the time to come and join me today. If anyone wanted to find out more about Sitecore, what's the best place you would
get to sitecore.com and have a look there. And obviously feel free to reach out to me or others. We're always keen to talk to people about new and evolving trends in the space.
Excellent. I'll add links to that so people can find you nice and easily, but just thanks for joining me today.
Super. Thank you.
Finally, last but by no means least, it's time to welcome Nick Malone, Chief Operating Officer at Sitecore, onto the show, who is a great guy and someone I could have spoke to for hours. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
So yeah, I'm Nick Malone. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Sitecore. I joined the company, I guess, January, so 18-ish months ago, maybe a little bit more than that. I've been in the software industry for the best part of 28 years, I guess. Yeah, joined Sitecore and have been on blazing the trail ever since. It's been a great journey so far.
And we're meeting here towards the end of the event. So I've got to ask, how would you describe your symposium experience to people that are listening all over the world?
Well, to be fair, I spent most of the last 18 months. Yeah, if I think back to when I joined Sitecore, I'd interviewed over Teams. I joined the company over Teams. My diary, much like everybody else's, is back to back on a regular basis. So here I would actually say that this event, best part of 2,300 people, something of that order here, it's really been humanizing business, I'd say, is the way I'd describe it. It's been absolutely fantastic to interact with people who, many of whom you see on the other side of the room, you don't recognize them. But it's great to spend some time here with colleagues, partners especially, and of course our customers who've come here en masse. It's been great.
If I look back around, I think it was 10 years ago, IBM famously said that the last best experience that anyone has anywhere becomes the minimum expectation for the experience they want everywhere. And I suspect this is something that we both experience on an almost daily basis ourselves. But here in 2022, what do you think a superior digital experience looks like in the eyes of a modern consumer?
Well, I guess first and foremost, it has to be relevant. Yeah. If all of us are living pretty busy lives and we're connected, all the time in so many different channels, but anything that comes out to us has to be relevant for a start. And for it to be relevant, ideally it needs to be personalized to our specific interests. And that's not easy when you think about, everyone's different. That's the beauty about the human DNA. It creates a very diverse environment. Got to be relevant. Therefore needs to be personalized. And of course, timing matters. It needs to be in the moment of whatever that is that you're doing. And I think that you've got loads of different use cases across all different types of industry. And I guess a lot of the people here at Symposium are trying to crack that nut. How do you reimagine the customer experience in a digital, always on world to make sure that we catch that in the moment experience? So
100%. And I recently read that 90% of executives globally are reporting that their customers' lives are actually changing faster than they can actually react. So as a result, organizations are fundamentally rethinking what products or even services that they can offer. Can you expand on what you're seeing across the board here?
Yeah, well, I guess 90% execs can't be wrong, is it?
Yeah.
So, we're onto something there. I think that your customer expectation is moving fast. And for those companies that are open to the idea that they need to change quickly. And it's difficult to do that within your own four walls. I think that, like any organization, companies, you can get set in your ways. Even the most innovative companies can still have parameters or guardrails that keep you within a certain box. So I think reaching out from beyond those borders is definitely a good starting point. And a lot of people do a lot of research online these days, but I think really being able to engage with creative minds that are in adjacent industries, never mind in your own, to help explore the art of the possible is always a good starting point. And brands are always trying to build relationships, and relationships take a little bit of time to nurture. It's like you earn trust one drop at a time. But you knock the bucket over, you lose a lot of water very quickly. So that's a journey, and small moments over a continued extension of time are the way you build up that trust, you build up that brand credibility, and therefore a bit of loyalty. But delivering on the promise is definitely key. It's not just that first or second or third interaction. You have to follow it all the way through and continue to nurture that customer journey.
So for any business leader or decision maker listening that's thinking, I get it, I understand how the experiencers are now driving their own their expectations of customers, but they also feel that their business is possibly getting left behind. What should they be doing now? Where should they begin? Because it's not too late, is it?
It's definitely never too late. Absolutely not. Step one, get active. And we talk about digital world, right? Content is king, and content is today. It's so accessible, right? We all do it. You go straight to Google, you key in information, you get it. So I would direct people first and foremost go to sitecore.com. We've got a wealth of information that we publish in there. We do a lot of research. Paige O'Neill, our chief marketing officer, gets research done on a regular basis to ensure that we're at least aware of what's going on in the market, what the latest trends are. And we have a wonderful part of our Sitecore.com, which is where all of our partners are putting their information about the solutions that they've created, the offers that they bring to the market, and indeed about their competencies. So this is a great point to start for anyone that sort of wants to scratch the surface of what's the art of the possible.
And of course, to thrive in this new digital era, companies need to be able to operate in a state of always-on innovation and adapt to the ever-evolving. Do you think that message has reached the boardroom now?
Ooh, good one. Do you know what? When I first started working years ago, I worked for a company that wasn't a particularly recognized brand, and I used to have to sort of explain who we were, what we did. Then I worked for SAP for a while, and everybody had heard of SAP. At Sitecore, I think most CMOs would have heard of Sitecore. We're a leader in our space, and we've been a leader for 20 years, and we continue to innovate. So it's our brand strength is very much there. Broader within the boardroom, I think we're making steps, and part of the reason for that is necessity, right? So especially, I guess, with all of the realization of the pandemic, that it changed things a little bit. It meant that people did have to think about, wow, how can we operate in the new environment? So I'd say that the need for the boardroom to be more au fait with digital engagement with customers is high. I mean, when you look at some of the roles there are, chief digital officer, chief growth officer, CISOs, all the people that need to be au fait with all of the security measures. These are all the people that we're seeing today in that boardroom, and those guys are obviously bringing a lot of subject matter expertise. So I'd say that awareness in the boardroom is definitely growing across the board.
And obviously people are coming to you and asking you for solutions. And I'm curious, what keeps you up at night? How do you keep your curiosity and open-mindedness alive to be open to these new ideas and exploring the art of the possible, as you said? Well,
I've got a couple of kids, so that definitely helps. They keep me on point. In fact, I remember years ago, we were at a conference, and the gentleman that was presenting said, his daughter, he was planning to take his daughter to Disney World. And so he how far away is Disney World? So off he goes to sort of type it into Google and search, and she lost patience with that. Just said, hey Siri, how far away is Disney? So that sort of different type of thinking is staple. For me, actually, I'm an early riser. So my best thinking time happens doing exercise in the morning. And, I don't claim to be able to multitask very well, but I can sit on a bike in the gym and listen to podcasts. So I do tend to consume podcasts, and that keeps my curiosity going. Actually, we had Azim Azhar here this week on stage, and I have to say I'm a big fan of Exponential View. So I've consumed the vast majority of his podcast, and one or two other ones I definitely recommend for anyone interested. There's a great podcast called In Good Company, which is something by the CEO of the Nordic Sovereign Welfare Fund, and Nikolai Tanin. It's great. He's interviewing predominantly chief executives of the companies that they have invested in. Ferrari, L'Oreal, Louis Vuitton, and it's a fascinating discussion that they have every time. And it's a really nice demeanor with which he's conducting them. So that's where I'm getting my stimulation from, and keeping myself curious.
Well, I will be checking that out for sure. And one of the things that everyone missed from in-person conferences is the serendipity that comes with random conversations with strangers, such as ourselves here today, and obviously customers. Are there any themes from the conversations that you're having on the show floor at Symposium? Because you must be getting to talk to a lot of people. I'm wondering if there's any big themes there.
I am getting to talk to a lot of people, and it's a lot of my colleagues actually who I've seen on the other side of screen of Teams, on the other side of a screen, but never met in person before. So by default, a lot of the that's the same. I did meet partners a lot of the time, customers less frequent in my role, but the common theme here is gosh, you're much taller or you're much shorter than I thought. That seems to be trend number one. I guess trend two is which party are you going to tonight? So our partners are very energetic when it comes to doing business, but they do like to balance the equation of work hard, play hard. So partner parties are definitely on the agenda, yeah.
And I always like to have a bit of fun with my guests. We had Paige O'Neill. I think she chose Unstoppable by Sia a few days ago, and she did come onto stage with it as well, interestingly enough. But I'm going to ask you now, is there a song or book that you will leave us with that you can leave everyone listening with, and we'll add it to either a Spotify playlist or an Amazon wish list? But what are you going to leave us with?
I'll leave you with one of each. Ooh. Yeah, so I recently read a book called Rebel Ideas, by a guy called Matthew Syed, which is it's all about diversity. And it was a fascinating read. It was definitely a page turner straight from the get-go, which I can definitely recommend for anyone that wants to explore that. And the second one, music-wise, I'm going to leave you one that links back to actually something my son did. So when COVID came along, we sat down as a family and we said, listen, this could go on for ages. So maybe we should think about something a skill that we could learn, because we don't know how long we're going to be here. So my son took up the guitar, which was great. Yeah. And never done it before. His granddad taught him a few chords over Zoom. Anyway, a year later, when we're back at school, they had the summer concert. And they actually call it like the E Factor, which is their play on X Factor. They have a few auditions and so on. So James decides he's going to go and enter this E Factor. And the song he'd chosen was an Ed Sheeran number called Perfect. Yeah. So there he was. That evening, he stands up on stage. There were 400 parents and some of his school buddies and stuff there. And he stood on stage on his own with his guitar and belted it out. And it was terrifying for me, but an extraordinary amount of courage for him. So that one would be one for the list.
Wow, what a powerful moment and powerful story. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me today. And before I let you go, for anyone just wanting to find out more information about everything that we've talked about today, what's the best starting point for everything?
Sitecore.com, that's definitely a starting point. And I think we're all pretty prolific on LinkedIn. So for myself or any of my colleagues, LinkedIn's always a good place to be. And we've got lots of partner community stuff out there as well.
Well, I'll add the links to that to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. But I think we're reaching the end of the conference now, so it's time for you to go to the party tonight, I believe. But
party tonight and an overnight flight back home tomorrow. But really appreciate your time today.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, there you have it. We've covered what many of the world's biggest brands are talking about in separate interviews here at Symposium 2022. And today, we've heard from the leadership team too. And if you listened to all of these interviews, I'm curious, what were your big takeaways? Because it was my aim that you'd have access to all the conversations as if you were live on the show floor with me. So what are your big takeaways? What excites you about the future and these conversations that these brands are having? What do you agree with, especially around things like personalization? And what do you disagree with? I want to hear it all sides of the story, and bring you into the conversation. I want your voice to be a part of everything that we're talking about here. So please, as always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can get me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, @NeilC.Hughes. Let's keep this conversation going, and together, hopefully, we can find the best path forward. So a big thank you for joining me here in Chicago over the last week. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow, where we'll explore a completely different set of topics. But a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time. Don't be a stranger.